Bill to Johnsburg, July 26, 2018, special meeting of the President of the Board of Trustees to order at 7:02. On the roll, Trustee McAvoy.
Present.
Trustee Curry.
Here.
Trustee Hagen.
Here.
Trustee Lumsden.
Here.
Stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to proceed from the floor right away with Mr. Bartman instead of doing it under the President's report. So, Phil?
Thank you. Well, I hope everybody got the letter that I emailed to you. You know, I'm a long-term member of the McHenry Rotary Club, and we make a lot of money at our blues, brews, and barbecues, and we spend a lot of that money. You know, we are very closely tied to District 12. We do almost whatever they ask us, we jump in and do. And when this village was formed, when we annexed Sunnyside, one of the selling points was we want to protect District 12. We're afraid we're going to get overrun, and we're going to suffer with District 12. And District 12 is one of our very close partners. We work with them closely. They work with us closely. Just an aside, Rotary has a program that we call Shelter Box. When there's a catastrophe anywhere in the world, the Shelter Box organization is ready to go at a moment's notice to provide shelters. They're basically tie-lit tents. They get a box that's got cooking material, some foodstuffs, things like that. It's an emergency shelter when there's a catastrophe. A year ago, we came in and visited with the middle school and junior high, and gave a presentation on the need for shelter boxes in the world. Those kids gathered over $2,000, and a shelter box kit costs $1,000. So the kids at District 12 Junior High, in cooperation with the McHenry Rotary Club, paid for two shelter kits when they are needed. I mean, they're sitting in a warehouse somewhere. But when those are needed, they're on an airplane or a ship and they're gone. That's the kind of relationship we've had with District 12. We've had the assistant principal, as I told you in the letter, from the junior high, was a member. He just left Johnsburg to go to Antioch, and I've already talked to Dr. Johnson the other day, and they called me back today. They will have somebody to join our club from District 12 as soon as we get back into school routine. And the point of that is we're called the McHenry Rotary Club. Rotary is an international organization serving throughout the world, and we do as much for Johnsburg as we possibly can when we're requested. And yes, you can say McHenry gets more. McHenry's a bigger town. And you know, so when if you think about things per capita, we work with McHenry, but we treat Johnsburg and Wonder Lake, and Lakemore for that matter, the same as McHenry. And especially because there's people like me, and there has all along, as I got in the club in 74, we've always had good representation from Johnsburg. And Johnsburg has always been at the forefront of projects we're doing. And I was, obviously the heaviest is toward District 12. An aside, he gave us, let us use his Explorers a year or two ago in our parking lot for BB&B. They were out there without hats. They had nice uniforms, but they didn't have uniform hats. We gave them Rotary hats for that day, and then we gave the Explorers $500 to buy the proper hats for their uniforms. Is that the truth?
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, I don't want to take too long, I know you got a busy agenda, but I would be embarrassed if I have to go back to our club, say, Johnsburg won't let us use their signs. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Did everybody get Phil's letter?
Yeah, I'm just reviewing it again a little bit, but
I don't want to throw a kink in the machinery here, but when that original sign was bought by the Johnsburg Rescue Squad retired, that sits by the library, that was signed, and you can go back, we have not put any, the only event that's been up there outside of, the village, was the Fair Diddley that the McHenry County Health Board sponsored, and that was agreed to. But when the sign was donated to us, it was under the stipulation, because we get so many requests to use the sign, that that would be used for a Johnsburg community event and outside organization that would be holding a nonprofit fundraiser in the village of Johnsburg, because now it's a Johnsburg event, could use that sign. That was the original stipulation, and that's the rule we followed. When Phil made his request, I said, Phil's been very active and you know, has helped the village in a lot of ways, and that's why we considered it, and I brought it to the board and asked them to, you know, what their feelings were. But that's the history on it, and my concern is, how are we going to handle the other requests once we do that? And that's why it was done that way from the beginning, okay? There are some times when we have so many requests, well, we started out, hey, can you put a request up there, happy birthday so-and-so, and happy birthday grandpa, and you know, we ruled them out right away. So, that's why I brought it up to the board, okay? And the only reason it was being considered was because, you know, we know Phil has worked hard with the village and in a lot of projects, so that's why I brought it to you. But the discussion was brought to you because I don't know how you're going to tell somebody else no. Are you going to tell the McHenry Lions Club no?
May I interject? You know, and I know how you document this, but what have you done for me lately? And with Rotary Club, I think we have shown with actions and dollars that we have done a lot for the community, especially District 12. And, you know, does that become the criteria you look at? You know, that...
I see that, the only thing I'm saying, Phil, and believe me, I don't want to tell you no, but on the same token, what I see is, how do we tell somebody no? Once we start outside of that parameter that was set up, that we followed so far all the way along, how do we say no? And that's why I brought it to the board, only because of all you've done for the community, and I know the Rotary's done things for Johnsburg. I am not saying they haven't. I know they bought the hat/gear for our Johnsburg Explorers because they help with traffic, and Keith made a big told the board that, made a presentation. So, you know, that's why I brought it to the board. Otherwise, it would probably need to be considered, but I'm just wondering how you're going to control it, if you want to table it and think about it, and, you know, come back with how you think we can make it work. That's fine with me, okay, but, you know, so I'm asking for the advice, you know, and that's the only reason it came to the board. Otherwise, it would have been flat.
Well,
No.
when is the verification?
17th or 19th of August.
17th to 19th.
Who's our next board meeting?
Shut up.
I mean, are we gonna go back and re-vote on this, or?
Well, I think you guys are gonna have a discussion on it right now.
Right.
And if you wanna table it to the next board meeting, you're welcome to do that when Mary Lou and, Kyle are back, I'm sorry, Tom. But, you know,
You mentioned Fair Diddley, so that Fair Diddley was on the board?
Fair Diddley originally started in Woodstock for the mental health thing, then it got to move to Boone County, and then we decided that we weren't gonna advertise it anymore, because it wasn't even in the county, okay? Fair Diddley did get on the board, and that was something that was overlooked. They came and filled out the sign, or the form, and then they put it up there. So, that's how Fair Diddley got up there. That's the only thing outside of Johnsburg that's ever been on that board. And then we took it off when they moved it from Woodstock to Boone County. I have nothing against the McHenry County Health Board, it's just that was the parameters that we set up, and, you know, so if you want to change the parameters, you tell me how to do it, and how we're going to tell other organizations, no, that's really where we're at.
I don't think the issue is with the organization, and certainly the people that have contributed from that organization so much to Johnsburg. The issue is with the location of the event. You know, it's an event that takes place outside of Johnsburg, and that's really the sticking point, is that.
But a portion of the money comes in.
And
Yeah, we understand.
Yeah, we understand, and we appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
But again, it's advertising an event that takes place and would therefore take people out of Johnsburg. Not that we want to keep people here for everything, but again, then where does that end? What is that boundary?
And your meetings are at Stuckey's?
We have our morning
Morning.
meeting. I'm in the new club, we meet at WFW. Our morning club meets at Stuckey's. And we are two separate clubs,
Right.
but we are Rotary International, and we are the...
Can I ask why is that?
Pardon?
Why are there two different clubs?
Because we meet at noon, and some people couldn't meet at noon,
Okay.
so we started a morning club about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And so they're their own club, but we started them. And they just haven't, I didn't even know they're meeting at Stuckey's. And there's about, well, I gave you some of the list, but there's about 8 Johnsburgers or District 12 staff that are on in their club here.
Yeah, I'm actually going to 2 meetings from now. Matt Colby called me yesterday, asked me to attend that.
Well, we're always recruiting them, we've been trying to get Claudette.
Too busy. Would it, and I'm just asking the process of with the 2 different signs, LED signs that we have, is it while respecting the donation of the sign at the library and all, and advertising on the one at 31 and not the library, is that even a possibility? Are they connected? Is it 2 different?
They're all connected. They're all...
So you can't do one without the other,
They're all
programming
phased.
wise?
They used to be wired, now they're wireless,
Right.
on the internet.
All right.
Bill, would you guys ever consider to bring it back to Johnsburg? Do you need Peterson Park? You need the size because of the venue's so
It's
large.
the side, we need the venue.
Yeah,
They got the facility, the washrooms,
right.
and all of that. And we've grown it, now we have
Sure.
the semi-amateur barbecue contest going on, brings in another, now we have 4, this year we'll have 48 contestants.
Sure.
So it's, so I'm sure some of you don't realize it, but Johnsburg's been known for 100 years to be good beer drinkers. And part of my name is Blues and Barbecues, and I guarantee you, we have a large turnout from Johnsburg. And they spend their money, we appreciate that, and it goes back into the community. And as I said in my letter, we have a charitable foundation, a 501c3. Every dime we make, a profit, first goes into our charitable foundation. and then we budget, and then whenever, people come to our club, our meeting every week, and ask for a project, ask for money. Henry does it, Johnsburg has done it, Swell has done it, and that's where the money goes.
This is your big event, right? That's what you guys do every year, that's what you're known for.
Yeah,
right?
this is our 7th year.
Is there any other events you guys do that you might be able to bring
We
to
are
Johnsburg
now.
or anything else?
This is
Effort,
pretty-
I know, it's a lot to ask, but you're.
It's a year-long project, you know,
Sure.
3 years, 3 days of hard work and a year of planning, dotting i's and crossing t's.
Yeah, my point is too, like what Josh said, Bill, we appreciate everything you've done and what Rotary does. There's no question with the organization. The hard thing is, if I go to local business owners and they say, hey, why did you advertise something for McHenry? They might be upset at us as well too for that. It's hard that we're driving people out of the village. It's hard thing we're just trying to promote it, and like how Ed said it too, it's hard to see us to promote another community's event. Because I don't know if I'd ask McHenry to promote something in Johnsburg. I don't know if they would do that either. So, not saying we're not trying to be good neighbors or with other villages or cities. It just is something that's kind of what's been done against some of the dividing lines. So I think, we would all support that and push the effort too. It's just hard once we open Pandora's box for other organizations to come to us, we won't be able to say no because we once opened up for Rotary. So I think that's kind of that's the reason why I voted that way last time.
That was my original, thought process as well. To keep it kind of black and white so that there's a line drawn and yes, we can or no, we can't. I think, I guess where the gray area comes in is.
May I just
when
make
money
one more
comes back.
comment, and then I'll shut up,
Yeah.
and I know you want to get on with your meeting. 2 years ago, we rent these roadside signs. Everybody hates what we do, and they get us a lot of business. And we have always put one at the Moose.
Right.
2 years ago, we came to the village, because we had to get a sign permit for that. And I was told at that time, okay, we're going to give you a permit this year, but we're putting the electronic sign at Public Works. It's being built. So the next time, you can go on that sign. We're not going to give you a permit for a roadside sign. So now here we are, 2 years down the pipe. And now the story changes. And I understand, I totally understand, but,
Who told you that, Phil?
you just actually did.
Who did?
You.
Not me.
Okay.
Not me, because
Okay.
the policy of the village with those, like, signs, you're talking about the size, is that if it's a nonprofit organization, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, they're allowed all over, right?
The digital signboards, is that what you're
No, I'm talking about the.
That's like the campaign signs.
Campaign signs that people put up if they run the event, they put them up for soccer, they put them up for.
He's talking about what was out on the road for Chapel Hill Road Bridge that flashes a message. That's what he's talking
like
about.
an
electronic signs?
He's talking about pulling a trailer up that says, instead of Chapel Hill Road, it says blues, and barbecue. That's what was at the
Right.
Moose 2 years ago.
Oh,
That's what he's speaking of.
That's news to me, but anyways. Whatever, what's your pleasure?
well, seeing that we have time between when this event is going to take place and our next meeting, I would say, I think we should think about it and bring it to a vote, or a revote at the next meeting.
Well, our next meeting is August 7th.
Your event is the 17th.
Their event is when? The 17th?
17.
17, 18.
Which, it's Friday, right? August 17th?
Right.
Okay. Which is, that's another rule, we don't put anything up there unless it's 2 weeks before. Okay, and that's been, so you'd be
So
about.
you were going to put it, you put it up 2 weeks before the staff at the office didn't know what was going to happen from the board.
Either that or we put it to a vote tonight, well, revote, or we just stand our ground and stick with it.
Totally up to you gentlemen, whatever you would like to do.
If everybody's saying the problem is, how do we say no to, well, I guess I'm hearing two different things. One is people saying the problem is, how do we say no to other outside events?
I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. And then the other problem is, the commitment that was made in how to use the sign, right, that was donated at the library.
And I think that's 15 years ago, and I don't know if that's a big problem, because I don't know if anybody would even say anything about that, but that was the agreement that was made back then. You know what I mean? And things change, you know, I mean, things change from 1953 to 54, like Bill says, to 2018, that was probably 15 years ago, and that's been changed since, so, I mean, I don't know if that's a serious problem, if anybody, you know, the rescue squad retires, disbanded, they gave us the money, I don't think that's a problem.
So it is, I mean, believe me, I was very comfortable in saying no last time. But is the connection, or, you know, the line that we draw to, you know, whatever, Lakemore has their fest or whatever, if they ask us to advertise and we say no and they get upset, is it, well, you haven't donated anything to the community, to District 12 or to the Explorers, or, you know, you're not giving anything back to this community, so why would we advertise it? Whereas the Rotary is, maybe that's the line.
Yeah, maybe it's along the line of contributions that come back to the community.
Right. You know, I mean, I shop in Johnsburg before anywhere else every chance I get, but we also do a lot of celebration in the park. A whole lot of those people are from the Highlands and Ringwood, you know.
Well, we're not trying to say that,
Right.
don't use their event.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Go to that event. We're not trying to help them not promote their events.
Mhm.
All
Right.
what we're saying is, from that point forward, I think the biggest problem is how do you refuse it to anybody else?
Why don't
No,
you
I
just
agree.
rewrite a conditional use of what constitutes the use of the sign, saying that if it's an organization that is, same criteria you have, that's a Johnsburg organization, but if we don't have that organization existing in Johnsburg, because we don't have a Johnsburg Rotary, but we have a Rotary that functions and supplies things to Johnsburg, it would constitute an exception to our regular, what we allow. Just like in zoning, there's a conditional use, and that it just says, under these conditions, the sign can be used if it meets X, Y, Z. Meaning it's not, you're not advertising for another town, you're Girl Scouts.
I mean, I guess, you know, that's okay to a sense, and I understand where you're coming from, where Tom's coming from. But, I mean, that thing of, okay, the shelter thing, or the hats, you know, I mean, the Lions Club is in Johnsburg, and they've supported stuff in Lakemore and in Wonder Lake, and we've supplied, you know, $5,000 surgeries for people, machines for people, but we don't go and advertise our stuff there, because wouldn't that be sort of wrong to do that in their community? I don't know. I would think it is, but that's totally up to...
And I would think that if Wonder Lake doesn't have a Lions Club, then Johnsburg should be advertising in Wonder Lake saying, come to our meat raffle. I would think we're communities that mix together, but it's... I'm just saying, how do you set the precedent? And I understand, because once you let it through, just like in zoning, once you let somebody have that, you're going to have the next person and the next person. So I get that opening the floodgates, and how do you discern who gets in and who doesn't? And who wants to be the
And who's going to be the gatekeeper?
I get that.
So it has nothing to do with the organization,
Correct.
No.
No, and I'm just, but what do you,
location of the event
right,
is the criteria, I think.
okay, so that's,
I mean, that's my, the organization, both organizations that we're talking about, Lions Club and Rotary, they're fantastic organizations, and I wouldn't want to put either of them aside, but it's that has nothing to do with it, the organization.
Well, it's kind of a disclaimer here because it's called the Henry Rotary.
Right.
Correct.
Sunrise does mean Johnsburg, though.
Right.
That's Sucky's,
Again, that's
So
focusing on
maybe
the
they should
organization.
think next year to call it the McHenry-Johnsburg Rotary, the Sunshine, whichever one.
But that's
And-
still focusing on the organization.
Right.
That's not what we're talking about.
And you're talking about the
We're talking about the
event,
event.
not in
We're
Johnsburg.
advertising an event. We're not advertising the Rotary. If that were up for debate, then I think people would go for that. But the fact that the event that we're talking about is not here.
Are the dollars,
Separated.
or should part of the conversation be the dollars that are made at the event coming back to the community to help people, or should that be part of the conversation?
Yes.
For Tom, we do charge, people use our fields, they're not inside the community, do we charge for the sign? Or some outside use, but it will be on a conditional, kind of like Kim's saying, conditional use to be able to put their name on the board. Storing it as an idea, so would that
Or
work?
you can want to open a can of worms and.
That's true.
Well, that adds another bookkeeping.
Another layer.
Well,
It's true.
The thing the thing I would say when you bring up Lions Club and Lakemore, and, I would say maybe it's not wrong to say to Lakemore, we're putting, Johnsburg Lions are putting dollars back into your community. How about advertising Raymond's, for us, and get more people to meet raffles. I wouldn't think that would be wrong to ask. Yeah, it wouldn't be wrong to ask.
It's a Johnsburg Community Event Bulletin Board. That's what was put up there. It's totally up to you, if you guys want to table it until the other two trustees are here, or if you want to give it approval right now, one way or another. Tell me how you want to proceed.
If we table it, then the next meeting is too late anyway.
No, it's 2 weeks
It's 10
almost
days
before,
before the
which
event.
is the rule that it's 2 weeks. If you look at the form that you fill out to put stuff on that message board, it's 2 weeks before.
So then it is.
Or has that changed? It's still that.
It's 2 weeks, but I mean, clearly, you guys, if it's just short a couple days, if you decide at that point, there's a vote to decide. Yeah, it is
So a
12 days
weekend
instead of
for-
14 days.
To help it.
You wish to table it to address it on the 7th.
That's a good amount of advertising before the event. If we decide that it would work. I'm not seeing in my calendar any conflicts with any Johnsburg events that weekend. Johnsburg Wine Walk is after that. Wine tasting is before that. Some youth events are before that. I'd vote on it again. We can wait till the other trustees are here. As far as I'm concerned.
Is it your pleasure, guys, to table it until we have the full board?
I'll make a motion to table it.
To next week, table. Okay. We got a motion to table it. Second by trustee Curry, motion by trustee Feinstein. On the roll, trustee McAvoy.
Just one statement, under the caveat that if we overturn what our decision was, we're going to allow the blues, brews, and barbecues to go on there because they're going to be inside that 2-week period, right?
Yeah, they would have to go.
Once we overturn it, if you overturn it at the next meeting, they can go up on Tuesday, they can go up on Wednesday morning.
Okay. Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
Table to the 7th of August. Thanks, Phil, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I applaud your traffic change on Fairview Avenue. But at my way, we'd have made Fairview a dead end on our street.
There's some people that are not applauding it.
I know, well, I know about that, but
They only do that on
it's a very, very good road.
And if they're not applauding, they
Thank you.
should be here.
Sorry,
Thank you.
so much for your time.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank
No,
for
that's
coming.
all right.
Thank you.
Okay, can we have a motion on this agenda?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Curry,
I'll second.
seconded by trustee Hagan. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? Okay, and on the roll, trustee McAvoy,
Aye.
trustee Curry,
Aye.
trustee Hagan,
Aye.
and trustee Clumster.
Aye.
Appointments, we have the appointment to the ordinance committee. It was in your packet. I think everybody got it, correct? For Sherry Holland. That is okay with the chairman. She said that she's okay with that. So, we have consent to move on with that. Yes? Yes. Kevin?
Yep.
Yes?
Yep.
Tom?
Yes.
Yes, Josh?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Roker, Mr. Viney, you want to talk about sign, or, you know?
No, we don't want to.
For us, or,
You want something less contentious?
and I'm
Bill and I-
before we start too, I'm sorry, Kim, that I didn't recognize you. I would love to meet
No,
you as being part of the committee, because it is a committee of the whole, too, so, and a board meeting. We should close and open, but that's okay.
So, good seeing everybody again, and Bill and I drew straws. I won, and I get to go first. I promised to be over in 7 or 8 minutes. Tim will keep time, and but I'll start off a little bit because I'm going to talk about local funding first and give you an overview on what's happening in Washington. Let Bill listen to me, fill in any blanks that I've missed in my 5 or 7 minutes. And then we really want to open to questions for you guys, because you don't see us that often. We trade emails once in a while, and you hear this, you hear that, and we want to take whatever time you guys have on questions to ask us where we are, where we're going and stuff. So let me give you where we are on the local. When I mean local, is a couple years ago, we felt very good. Tim, Claudette, and I drove down on train to see the Army Corps of Engineers because we were the only request to be placed on the Army Corps of Engineers annual request for new authorizations for a new project in their Water Resource Development Act. And they said, we can't really do that, but would you take $5 million for an aquatic ecosystem restoration project? And Tim said, sure we can. It's called Dutch Creek. So for the last 2 or 3 years, you guys have been hearing, there's something going on in Dutch Creek where we may be able to get some core in here and maybe be able to do something. So I want to give you a status of where we are on that. We are in the same position we've been for quite a while, except the local staff people we're working with are a little embarrassed that it's been 2 or 3 years since they said we could start talking to you about that. So first of all, as far as our status is, we are the #1 priority for the Chicago district, which includes Rock Island, which we'll talk about in a minute, for a new start. And you'll hear that word a lot tonight. New start means that the headquarters of the Army Corps of Engineers says to their offices, okay, we have some budget, we have some money. They did get some money. They got some new money this past year in late spring. And Susan Davis sent emails to Claudette, to me, back and forth. We wrote a new letter. We said, we're still here. We still need the money. We still want to be your #1 project priority. We went back and forth with some drafts. She says, I like it. You're our #1 priority. And as soon as we get some new money, we will work with you guys to move ahead with the project. So that status is the same. I did contact Susan last month before the first scheduled meeting. We were going to be down there. And she reconfirmed in writing that we're still there, we're still watching, but we don't have they have not allowed us to start. So we do expect that can happen anytime. There doesn't need to be an act of Congress for that. It's an act of the headquarters of the Army Corps of Engineers saying, here's all our pluses, here's all our minuses. We got some money left in the 206 projects, the 106 program, and we can let a new project come in since we've been waiting the longest. And they like our project, they visited our project.
Don, just so you have an idea, so what happens every year we pass appropriation bills in Washington, which get done, supposed to be done October 1st, oftentimes not. They carry over on a continuing resolution, that's why we keep the government open, although it's not a new full year of funding. A new full year of funding happened this past February, and so what happens is the agencies don't just get that money the day the bill passes, right? They have their budget authority, and it trickles down. And so what happens is, so if you're at a regional office, and I have a pretty good sense of where DOD is in this process, in the Army Corps of Engineers, it falls under DOD. So where the money is sitting right now in most projects is still at headquarters and should run down to the different offices. I would have thought last month.
Yeah, I would have too.
I do know that some agencies are starting to get their money, starting to get their money last month, so I would expect to be there, or last month, July. July is when they're starting to hit. It didn't hit in July. I would expect it to be there next month. September at the absolute latest, which I know is sort of the end of the fiscal year, but it's just the way the money tends to flow down. So when Don's talking about, we had to go through that process again, that's for the money that should hopefully be there.
End of summer.
End of summer, which would allow us to access some portion of whatever that $5 million they had indicated would be available, right? So we have an authority, what they basically allocate when they say $5 million is we can have up to $5 million. And so that might be $100,000, it might be $500,000, it might be $1 million. We don't know what the dollar amount is, and they don't know what the dollar amount is until they see what actually comes down from the headquarters of the Corps of Engineers. So,
And in this case, Bill, the first step here is that there will be an agreement between the village and the Corps, and these are old numbers you've seen already, but they're going to do a feasibility study, work with Tim and the village and you guys, and they're going to pay the first $100K themselves. After that, they want a 50% contribution from the village, and they've read the story to us that it can be cash, it can be land, it can be easements, and it can be in-kind services. So we're all set to dream up all sorts of things we can do.
and it can be previously expended.
Yeah, you get credit for something that they
You're
would
not going to
have
have to, so they spend $200,000, the first 100 is on them.
Right.
You've already spent the $50,000 match.
So
you're not
they
gonna come
define
up
the
with-
project, and that, we have not gotten there yet until they sit down and negotiate agreements. So it's similar to what we did with the old appropriation grants, where we got money through EPA and had to negotiate what we do, and they would do the same kind of thing. So the fact that Susan's on our team, and I just want to comment a little bit on that side issue we talked about last couple of years. Susan was frustrated, Susan Davis at the Corps, and is in charge of this. And Chicago was frustrated she couldn't get a new start, and she said, well, send us over to Rock Island. We talked to Marshall, and then Marshall said, I'm having trouble with the state, they're broke, and they may default on an ongoing project in the 519 program, and we might be able to stuff you in there. Well, the update on that was about a month or so ago, and I think Tim Claudette got it. But simply put, Illinois decided not to default. They are moving ahead with it. So Marshall, who actually worked for Susan, said, well, maybe in 2020, so this is 2018, so if something happens this fall or next spring, we have another kick at 519 through Rock Island to maybe start the project that way. But what happened when the state decided to go ahead and not default on the 519 program, they threw a 2-year roadblock in our way to try to sneak ourselves in there. And the only sad thing about Marshall, he's moving to a new job. He gave us Andy, who we haven't talked to yet, but he says Andy knows what he's doing. And then he said the last time somebody did this was 2006. So if you go back in history, and Bill and I were talking about this, I've been here for 25 years, Bill's been here for 20 years, and we've always been the only person doing this thing around here as far as your neighbors. So there isn't a lot of competition for what we're trying to do for Dutch Creek. So I believe, even though this is dragged on because of the way the federal expenditures on these kind of projects go, there's something here at the end of the day. And Tim, you've actually talked to the Corps, they like the project, there's a lot of support. And Marshall, the guy in Rock Island, is from here, from Crystal Lake, he knows the area. He believes it's environmentally a good thing to do. So that sort of that's where we are locally. We are keeping our eyes and ears on Susan Davis. She's friendly, he's nice, good communications with Wyatt and ourselves. And with Tim's input, we're keeping it filled, and we're still a top priority when she has her money. The next thing...
Should be soon.
Well, Bill, I'm getting tired of waiting, but that's okay. So, but the next thing I want to touch briefly on, because the next thing is, where else is there money and what else can you do with it? And a while back, the administration did actually, oh yeah, Kevin?
Tim, can you give us an overview of what the Dutch Creek project would be?
Oh, I thought you meant, it has been 8 minutes, so I was just keeping track.
This was not counting against my time.
Oh, really?
I mean, obviously, there's dredging,
Yeah.
and
Dredging's a lower priority.
That's a low priority. It's the $100,000 is the analysis and of the bugs, of the vegetation, of the drainage, of the stormwater management, of the bay, of the history of what's going in it. And that was the angle we were taking, so then we could someday build in the dredging, the recreation of the islands, of the habitats, and then all that starts cleaning up the fingers, which then the sewer, which then contributes, the septics that then contribute to that, will, when they get on sewer, will also help enhance or upgrade the water quality of the Fox River and the Dutch Creek. So it's a roundabout way of trying to find money for sewer and things, but it's also going to be a fantastic project to utilize the Hughes property, to create a future park maybe, a boat canoe launch, clean up the creek, dredge it back to where it was. Again, it'll also provide stormwater management enhancements. And then, like I said, with the dredging, create islands that were once there. We actually have pictures of what it used to look like before it just kind of starts washing down the Fox River. And that's where we thought we could, create this
Waterfront
So-
park.
waterfront park.
starts with an ecosystem study.
An analysis.
Inventory.
Yeah, an inventory, yes, all that, which reaches all the way up into Dutch Creek Estates. It's a pretty substantial study area that they have bought into, and the Corps themselves would provide some of that expertise from Springfield on the biological side and also on the testing side.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, we went, on the second round, we said, we're gonna get our dredging, and we told the Corps that, and they said, wait a second.
Yeah.
Remember what you wrote 3 years ago? We did. So it's coming.
So, correct me if you're wrong, because, if I'm wrong, so dredging is out of the picture?
No,
Or no?
dredging would be at the end of the picture.
Okay.
So in other words,
So the first
dredging
thing's
becomes...
to study, and
Yeah.
didn't they do some borings, and it's 6 feet of related blue clay or something?
Yeah, Fox Waterway
Boy,
has
did they.
borings
Yeah.
and information.
So,
That's some of your in-kind services, by the way.
so it was 6 feet deep probably at one time, and we're 6 to 8 inches deep now.
Right.
So that's all the crap that's gotta be taken out of there.
Yeah,
Which-
the Corps just, it sounds, it's ridiculous. We want dredging, but in order to meet sort of the Corps' objectives, the way they focus on it, this administration is very environmentally focused and all this other sort of stuff, and so their criteria, we just can't follow it.
Right.
Well, but if dredging is the problem, if that's part of the solution, then it's in.
Susan
Right.
gave us the handbook of what we do first, second, third,
Yeah.
fourth, and we followed that handbook, and that's how we crafted our narrative.
Yep.
And that first step is to study. But down the
You
road,
need your
there's-
dredging in the end.
Well,
We wanna have the biggest waterfront park in McHenry. I don't wanna say that when Phil was here, because we wanna accommodate his event.
there you go. Okay, so that's the local funding thing. The next one's interesting. And this, I've been doing funding since the 70s, and Bill's joined me since the 90s. But we have a pretty good narrative right now from the administration on what the future of funding is. Now, you guys all lived through 7 annual appropriation direct congressional grants to the village. And that happened between 2000 and 2010, which got the plant built and the interceptors and everything to do with that money. And we'd go there, make our case, and write a better book, and stomp and yell and holler a little better, and they did as solicit us now. together. But going forward, the government's moving to a new place. The administration is talking about taking $200 billion of federal money, and what they want to do, and they've got some examples of doing it, I'll mention that in the next three minutes. They want to
We'll give you
spur that.
30 minutes,
They're trying to spur $1.5 trillion in investment, and they're trying to use their grant money instead of giving you a 50 or 70% grant, and you come up with a local share somehow and they will build. They want to use this as seed money to get you better credit, work with bankers, try to bring in state, local, tribal, which is in effect here, and private contributions. So they're looking at focusing on rural areas. Rural areas, are you a rural area or not, depends on whether you talk to every department, but you have rural characteristics here. That the reason we're putting sewers in Johnsburg is because it was a rural development. And while it isn't in your state zoning, it is where it was rural. They want to turn the decision-making to the state and local agencies. That's going to help. It'll take less federal bureaucracies out of it. They're going to try to remove barriers to get things done. They're going to try to do better permitting, kick the core a little bit, permitting unreasonable requests and river crossings, and work with American workforce and restrict them to purchasing America. They've got this up and running, and it is working, and the larger cities, and we always draft after the big cities. All the appropriation things we did started with New York, San Diego, Boston, and the whole West Coast, where they would go in and get their name on it in an appropriation bill, come back with money. And then the smaller communities like us drafted behind them and said, if you're going to do it there, you're going to do it here. Well, they got a program called WIFA. It's called the Water Infrastructure Financing and Improvement Innovation Act. And all simply put, Bill and I are working in Waukesha, Wisconsin. You know about Waukesha, it's a $300 million diversion of Lake Michigan, which took them 10 years to get, and they got it. Now they're trying to get some funding for it. They applied this week. And what this becomes is the US EPA will put seed money in and give them a very low interest, very long financing deal with variable payback situation over a 40 to 50 year period if necessary to make it work. And they're working in concert with their financial consultants to say, what do you guys do, what can we do, where does the federal money best fit, where do they need help? And literally, they need help up front, they can't have rate shock, they've got to step into them. So they're trying to get in, this is the second round of these things. Right now, WIFA is a minimum of $20 million project. Of course, you're not that big with the rest of the sewers, but close. And this promise from the administration is to get that, once they have a few examples, we've got 14 approved, we expect another 14 this year, then bring it down to 10 million, bring it down to 5 million. And maybe, Tim, we're still kicking at that point, we wrap up the rest of the sewers and want to do a WIFA, bring the financial consultants and the bonding people, mix it all together, and say, okay, how do we do this? Facility, these sewers are 40, 50-year facilities. We talk pipelines to the community, to the residents. So there is something happening. You will not hear about it in the news because the news is filled with everything else. But there was a statement about 3-4 months old at this point. It's an outline that other agenda items have kept too busy to get it in. So,
Bill? The other item we've been working on. And so last week, Chairman Schuster, who's the chairman of the House Transportation Committee, which is the committee that oversees the transportation committees where, like, EPA, the Army Corps of Engineers, their civil works side, the projects that we care about, it all goes through the Corps of Engineers. And he's in charge of crafting an infrastructure bill. He announced a framework for this infrastructure bill. And included in that, and I'll actually introduce this bill, included in that legislation is a grant program, an EPA grant program for small and rural communities to deal with wastewater and water projects. One of the things...
What could be introduced to?
Schuster, Transportation United Committee. And so what that is the administration has been talking about, trying to if there's multiples and trying to figure out like a private investment, which is good. But what they heard from mayors and governors and others is this is great, like that, but really we need some grant money too. And particularly, this program is targeted at smaller and rural communities because the problems we have there is, if you're in the city of Chicago, you can do creative financing, you can do things that stretch it out, and it has really meaningful impact. But when you're a community like Waukesha, Wisconsin, which is a lot bigger than Johnsburg, the payback on $300 million, or your Johnsburg, the payback on $15 or $20 million is really hard for communities to actually finance like that. And so that's why they've come up with the grant program. So, you know, the things that we're working on is one, you know, we always want to identify ways that we can get direct dollars back to Johnsburg. So we care about the park and we care about the dredging. But the benefit of being part of that, and why we've been focusing on that for the time being, is that gets us being part of the Corps of Engineers and convenes that relationship. The Army Corps of Engineers can do sewers. They have different authorities to do sewers. They have not authorized any new communities to do sewers. You know, the city of Chicago and Northwest Indiana can do sewers for the Corps of Engineers. We believe that if we start on this dredging project, we can get the funds going through there because it will have an ongoing project. If we can create some nexus with whether we do it with Dutch Creek or if we have to do a new authorization somehow, we think that nexus is today still our best opportunity to get direct funding to the village. I hope that this infrastructure bill goes. I think that it will. I can't tell you that it's going to get done this year, but that's why we've been so focused on working with the Corps of Engineers. We wanted to dredge, we wanted direction, we wanted to give you a nice park, but what we really wanted is sewers. Great to have a $5 million park in the clean riverway. We're all for that, but if we can tie in, and that's what we've been trying to figure out is how we can tie in. We're hopeful. I believe that we should be able to start the first part of this process this fall. You know,
next spring.
Let's keep, you know, because of the way dollars flow, I mean, I believe that it's imminent. But if we could go back and earmark some wood, if we had a way that we could earmark Johnsburg in an Army Corps of Engineering authorization bill for projects, but they're not doing those types of projects anymore. And so what we have to do is take our best opportunities, why we're so focused on the core, this Dredge Creek, finding nexus. We'll continue to look for the other opportunities as they evolve, which I think they're going to evolve over time. Candidly, I think, you know, I mean, I think in next Congress, when the Democrats take control of the House, or the Republicans keep control of the House, I think they'll want to do some comments on that. They would have come back this year, Ryan pulled it back. That's good for Johnsburg. We want that to happen because the people that will be eligible are a much smaller group. We will be one of those groups that would be able to still get an earmark universities into what will be associated in projects that shape over, you know, cities and communities and others. So that's sort of where our opportunities are. And hopefully this fall we can sign an agreement with the Corps of Engineers and move on our way.
Just to comment on the Corps, Waukesha didn't know where they were going to get their money. And a number of years ago, Bill and I spent time in Detroit because we dealt with the diversion and ended up with a couple of separate grants from the Corps. So they're known to the Corps, which helped them in getting their permit for the diversion, first of all. And now as they go for their financing, they're familiar with the Corps and part of the program. They're a partner, which helps.
And Canada, the reason we're going to have first that early opportunity is create a nexus for them to get some what would be additional funding for to start paying down the $300 million that we have.
Be thankful you don't have one of those.
So,
Okay.
Bill, I'm hard of hearing, so.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
So,
Sorry.
you know, But anyways.
Go ahead.
But anyways, so, you're thinking realistically that there will be some funding in this fall?
I don't see why there shouldn't be. I believe there should be. I think the funds, I mean, I would have expected the regional office already to have their funds, and they come next month. And I would think that the Corps should be able to sign an agreement this fall and get to work this fall or the spring based on.
So that would be for the study?
That'd be the first, whatever the cost, you determine the parameters of that study to be, they will give you the first $100,000.
You just told him whatever the cost is with.
No, it's Ken's cost, it's the Corps'
It's the Corps'
cost.
cost.
No, we ran the cost for the
Yeah.
study of that size and magnitude, and between John and our bill is what we
Came up with the
came up with, the
100,000.
100, right?
Okay.
And they'll pay 100% of the first 100. If it was 150, then you have to,
In kind.
from 10
Which we-
previous bills.
Which we thought the in-kind was the acquisition of the land, use and
Yeah.
Right.
other things.
They were.
And the acquisition of the
State.
land that we value right now from across the river, of all the parcels we had, plus all the studies we've done in the area, all the information we have is everything you can pour in to how we got to the study part to begin to discuss it.
So once the study's done, then they'll determine what they need to do. And whatever the to-do is, which part of that will be dredging, then that continues to flow. What does that cost based on what the Corps of Engineers has available? And you have up to $5 million is sort of what they've said is eligible, this project is eligible for.
That might be going out to 70.
At one time, I thought there was like a way, because of the water quality, is there a way that some of this funding, besides dredging, could go towards some collection system or?
Well, that's
The
part of
pipeline in this program-
the to-dos and the study.
Yeah, in
Right,
this,
that's the
under
to-dos
this
of the study.
authority, they can't build pipelines.
I'm just trying to refresh my memory.
Yeah, they can't do pipelines
Can't
under
build
this
pipelines.
particular one, but what it does, if the Corps is in there and they have this, if their authority won't build pipes, the 106 program, if it doesn't build pipes, they'll have other authorities, like Bill mentioned. They may have to move the pipe part of this thing to another authority.
Okay.
And actually, Ed, I'm trying to put together,
You
we want the Corps to be
jump
our...
authorities,
Yeah,
right?
we want the Corps to be our buddies because we have, EPA's our buddy now because of the plant. I mean, they paid for half and that's good. But the Corps is in there, now we have another partner as we go appropriations and everything. And the interesting thing about WIFA isn't that there's a couple projects out there, it's that that's the method, and they want the state to be in there and other locals. And Fox Water Authority,
Fox Waterway.
Waterway may become more important here because what the administration's trying to do is get it out of there and bring it back here. So we may be making friends in here, and it takes Tim and I back to the SRF program, depending on what kind of shape it is in Illinois, which is not good, but it may get better. You may bring money. And the reason I'm mentioning that is Flint, for example, all that Flint money came to the state through the SRF to Flint. It was not, there was $100 million to fix Flint and all that lead water ladder stuff. So Congress put out $100 million for that purpose and sent it right to the SRF. And then the SRF folks, because they can't do all their traditional SRS stuff with that, they had to work with the city, and that actually created a whole new relationship, different than what you guys experienced, we have experienced in Illinois with the SRF. So the way this goes is we're gonna be getting closer to the end of the state, more partners, and then, because the SRFs are gonna build pipes. And if they send the bucks that way, we can take some off and put it in there. And since they did that for Flint, which has nothing to do with SRF, to do lead laterals for lead poisoning, but they had done it.
But it's just, maybe it's some, it's sort of your thought.
Okay.
If you stay in the Corps, so we stay in our authority, we get our project, there'll be a bunch of to-dos to affect the water quality and if they want to
Yep.
do it and store it. So there may be some components to this that we discover, can write the outcome today of that study. But we still have to go through.
For your $100,000.
But we have to go through the process, and so it'll be mostly focused on that study. But there might be some other components, like the runoff from the sewers. And so we'll say we can accomplish 70% of what we want to do using this authority, but there's 30% this authority won't touch. So we need to use a different authority for this piece. So I have to work with the Corps of Engineers. It's a little ridiculous. We know what the problems are. You all know what the problems are. But the Corps has to act like it doesn't know what the problems are and has to go through this stuff.
Good analogy.
And so it's almost as if they're saying, we don't know that there's anything wrong here, but there might be something, and that's sort of the approach they're going to take. And so and the reason we're using this authority instead of the sewer authority is because this authority would have some money at today. And so this can get us the process started now, as opposed to, later on down.
Are we still working on other sources then?
We are always looking at other sources. We'd like to see what comes in the infrastructure bill. We're hopeful, as I mentioned, I don't know if you heard Chairman Schuster introduced last week, he's chairman of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, a bill, and it's all about an infrastructure bill. It includes reauthorization of the WIFIA program, it includes a bunch of surface transportation projects, but it also includes a program for grant from EPA for water and wastewater projects for small and rural communities. And so that's another path that we're taking a look at, because, and I was saying, I'm not sure how much you just heard, that, the mayors and the county executives and county league of cities and governors all said, look, this creative financing stuff is great, but we really need grant money. And I think there is a recognition that the payback, even using the most creative financing, saving 0.25% on $1 billion project makes meaningful difference. 0.25% on a $15 million project, it's still really expensive, right? And you can't finance the same way that the city of Chicago finances, even though you probably are better at paying your bills on time.
Detroit.
And so I think that's why this grant program, and again, this is a bill that just came out last week, is targeting rural and small communities because of the payback and recognizing that creative financing doesn't help, a village, 5 or 10 or 20,000 people the same way it does the city of 500,000 or 3 million people. So those are probably those are the other things that we're taking a look at. We're always have to look at other projects for the village, whether it's transportation or community development, or you guys want more trees, although you're not urban enough for urban forestry program. But whatever it may be. But I think we're going to get started, and I think we don't have this money from the Corps this fall, or at least our agreement signed this fall. I think we're going to have to reevaluate how we go after this and what you all might want to do going forward. I do feel that they've got to, if they can't come up with it now, we're going to probably have to evaluate what makes sense.
We'll drive down there, yell at them again, right, Claudia?
I'm sure they're not looking forward to that. No, I'm just
They were nice.
Yeah. Any questions for Don and Bill? Kim? Keith? Tim? Kevin?
We have about 5 or 6 miles of non-dedicated roads.
Yeah.
Is there any avenues that you see that we might be able to get some funding to?
When you say non-dedicated roads?
There are private roads that are internal to the village.
Who owns the roads?
The homeowners?
The homeowners.
The residents do.
And,
What if the homeowners would turn them over to us?
Then it's different, yeah.
Tim,
that's what we're looking for, is to...
Is there,
But they would have to do that before we have the funding, then we'd be responsible for the road.
you make the, don't you make the, back up, I live on a private road, and I've been through this with attorneys and things up in Wisconsin. Bottom line is, the town or village, just demands are up to county standards, city standards, and the property owners pay and hire whoever builds roads to do it. And they hand them to you, completed to your standards, and then you take them over.
We've
and
done,
take them in.
we've done several
Okay.
programs like
We
that.
have that in place.
Yeah, but you're looking for help for the property owners.
You know, if you could maybe send me what these roads are, send me a little
A lot of
blurb.
these roads are along the river,
Yeah.
and, they might be 14, 15 feet wide,
Very
in
helpful.
order to get 40 feet.
You know, what I could maybe do is,
Never happened.
put together a description of what could be done if they were the village's roads. And you can take that to the homeowners and see if you want to take a gamble or not.
Well, if we take, right now we have, SSA set up where several subdivisions have jumped in, and actually Phil's subdivision was the first one. They jumped in with the road, got the road upgraded, got it paid for, and then they jumped in right away for another SSA to get the sewers hooked up, and they did all the,
Keep the guys.
Yeah.
and he really led the charge for that.
I give him a sign for that.
But anyways, he was very supportive of it and got a lot done there. But, so, we don't wanna take the roads
Right.
unless we know there's funding to help with the roads.
Let me put something together
If there was
for you.
funding for the roads.
I wanna make sure that I'm being accurate but definitely not if they're private roads. I know they can't do it. I mean, it's.
I mean, if you can
Yeah,
guarantee the money
very,
to fix them,
very hard.
we'll take it.
Well, the county came out and said that they're would they allocate 12 million, something like that, for private roads in the county.
The county will.
The county did, so I'm thinking happy days, we're gonna get some cash out of this. And then when I found out, if you look in the fine print of the statute, it says that, well, any roads that are within jurisdiction of a city or a village don't apply.
Oh, yeah. It has to be there, unincorporated.
Unincorporated township.
It's because they use their road and bridge tax fund to give them a share of that,
Mm-hmm.
because they collect it differently than the villages and cities do.
Yeah. So really, those people were paying for their road
Yes,
anyway.
that's
They
was
just,
the argument for the last 15 years, and they finally ponied up 9 or 10 or 12 million bucks. over
I see, yeah.
Which is nowhere near what it will cost to bring them up to some standard. They did one road this past year, and it burned through the whole budget.
Oh,
that they
sure,
had,
yeah.
So it's just challenging.
Although the village, what would it cost the village to take 6 miles?
Yeah, 5.9.
What would that cost?
It's around $400,000 or $500,000 a mile.
I don't know.
$3 million.
And they're not full right-of-ways.
Everybody owns to the middle, to the backside, to the other side. There are no right of ways.
I mean, it's along the river, they're old resort houses.
There's driveways.
Yeah.
There's barriers in the middle of the
Yeah,
roads.
trees,
Barriers, floodplains. We can certainly share a little bullet point of what was Kevin speaking of, and then you can figure it from there.
I'll take a look and I'll give something back to you for you. I'll take a look.
Send it to me too, Bill. I am on a private road. I'd like to get some funding for
You'll
it.
send a little blurb, right? And I'll send it.
Throw your road on the bottom.
Plymouth, Wisconsin. Yeah, Rick?
I have a question. When they're looking for grants to award grants to the villages,
Okay.
do they take, like, the last couple of years, we've gotten awards for financial responsibility and everything else, accounting and everything else, and from the states, right? Or from, who was it that gave us that?
That's the state, right?
Government finance.
Government finance. Does that kind of stuff help when you're looking for grants? No.
Well, wait a second, there's 2 parts of grants. Number one is what we've done here is we're getting appropriation grants.
Right.
It makes you look like a good guy to the person, like Durbin was gonna say yes. But then the most important part of that is when we get these characters showing up 2, 3, 4 years later, saying, well, let's see your records. We drag Tim in with his boxes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're pretty nice. Well, what about, you know how to add up things? You got a spreadsheet? And we'd sit in these meetings and go over and stuff, and Claudette would walk in with, hey, listen, this says we're competent, we know what we're doing, that does help. And we've had some, we had to work on some of those, not that there was anything wrong, but they came in with a chip on their shoulder a number of times since the 7 grants we have on. So, yes, if you can do those kinds of things, and Claudette has access to it, to lay it on the table when they walk in, they walk out smiling and they're nice to us. Because they start off they walk in here to take your grant away after you're done. So that's where it helps, and that's a big deal. And we're all through that, we've got them all done, and you're all
Right,
clean.
no, I understand that, I just was wondering if, you know.
So that's an important spot where it does help.
Helps the politicians, it's a good story. I'm not bragging with you.
It helps you keep it after they give it to you, right?
Yeah.
Tom, Josh, Greg?
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well,
Thank you.
nice seeing you guys again.
Yeah.
Every time he tries to come out, they cancel his flight.
I was supposed to fly in yesterday,
Yeah.
and no kidding, I was like, I'm not
Bring a
flying the
son
day
in,
out.
play a game of golf.
My only flight canceled to Chicago from Dallas.
Every hour, it's an express, it runs back and forth. So,
Thanks, guys.
Well, hey, take care.
Appreciate it.
Keep in touch, and if you need something, Tim, Claudette, get a hold of us. And you're telling the Corps is gonna cough up by Christmas, okay?
Yeah, right.
Right back on you, Bill. I say spring, but we'll see.
All right, thank you, guys. Take care. Have a good night.
It was okay, I borrowed it now.
Thank you, Bill.
Sure will be added on the bill. Okay, committee reports. Kevin, do you got anything to say?
No, Davey's been out, basically, doing some blacktop work and culvert work and that sort of thing, kind of routine stuff. Although I did want to bring up, Claudette and I talked about this earlier. He went to the auction last week to try and find a bucket truck, and couldn't find anything that was decent to buy. They were either bone transmissions or,
Too big, too small,
right. They
rusted out there.
didn't have the articulating bucket that he wants. So, last meeting, we allocated, or we gave him approval to spend $50,000. And I want to make sure that he's going to go out on his own and look and search and see if he can find something that's still in place for him to spend that money if he finds the right thing. So, I don't know if we have to vote on that or...
I think we have to put it on the next agenda, though.
Well, actually, no, I wanted this matter brought up for clarification, because the authorization you gave was to expend up to $50,000 for the acquisition of the bucket truck.
Regardless of the auction.
It wasn't specific for the
No,
auction.
right.
It was not. So I just want to make sure everyone was clear that he did not find anything at the auction. When you're pursuing something used, oftentimes you don't have an opportunity to wait around and say, oh, well, you wait for our board, they're meeting in 2 weeks. So we need to be prepared that, if he finds something, he comes to, Ed and I, Kevin, and says, this is a good truck, we've looked it over, this is, I think, going to meet our needs, and we do our checks and balances, that he can go ahead and proceed with that so long as it doesn't exceed that amount. So we just want to make sure you guys are all right with that and clear, your authorization was kind of open-ended, but we want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, Tom, you always got something to say.
Always. Hope everybody's still online tasting too.
I think it can move.
Yeah, if you need more, let me know. The barbecue event, our local barbecue event, we're gonna postpone that.
We couldn't get it on the sign, so we had to move it.
Yeah, right. But, no, basically, everybody I know that was interested in doing it is on vacation this week.
That was the 28th that was supposed to be.
Yeah, we were gonna do it this Saturday. We had 2 people signed up to do it. One of them is Scott Thornton, who's on our committee. And the third gentleman inquired about it, hadn't paid to sign, actually signed up. So, we're gonna push that up. Still doing a movie, Saturday night, though, if you wanna come watch.
What is the movie?
This time around, it is Herbie, Herbie, Love Bug, right?
Old.
Yeah, we're going old school. And I was wondering, Tim, if there's any update with Running Brooks. I know, the surveying's done, it looks like excavation is done.
They're rolling in the layout curve and pour the slabs, and it'll be occurring next week and according to schedule. So sidewalks, curbs, then they'll come in to drain, under drain, and then the equipment is at Public Works. They'll go grab that, and they got, the subcontractor will install the equipment, and they'll mount the mulch in, and then topsoil seed and rest of it.
And the sidewalk, I know, I happened to drive by and I saw the surveyor there. I was like, I don't know, but they said the sidewalk was too high, so they're...
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not, okay. Because then they painted three squares, all of X was painted in the room.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if they were
Pressure wash
moving
it off.
those or something, but, no,
Should have been sprayed.
so he was wrong.
Yes, he was. Call me anytime if you have any questions.
I figured I'd see you here.
Tim's going up there to his weight straight thing.
Orange, white, X's all over the place.
I know,
Let's take-
3 pink X's. I pulled out like, what?
So it's all taken care of.
Yes, it is.
It'll be nice.
Yeah, it'll look cool, you know, you see how it fits in there with the playground off to the left, and the swing out there, you'll see the stakes and where the basketball court goes, and the new ADA sidewalk going down to the playground. So it'll look good.
Very nice. Josh?
We're just continuing to work with developing marketing material. We're building into this map of venues in the village, so it's getting a little more complicated than we originally saw it. So we're kind of hitting reset a little bit and go a little deeper. We're working on that plus a couple other ones.
Oh, it's gonna be easy, but it's not.
That's what I thought, but that's...
Okay. Rick?
Finance, we took the month of July off because we have the appropriations done, but in August, we're looking forward to looking at, D&G was passing on, does look at the building permit fees, so we're going to be reviewing some of that from the finance perspective, looking at that. So that'll be in August.
Okay. Lowering them, I'm sure.
Well, that's, they'll come in front of you guys.
Kim?
Planning and zoning has been going over all of our ordinances for our stuff on the zoning. Right now, we're into signage, so it's kind of funny, they would have the sign, we're talking about the sign. And so, slowly but surely, we're redoing our definitions, bringing them up to today's standards. Some of our stuff is antiquated, some of the stuff that we're dealing with now didn't even exist the last time the ordinances were written. So we're just redoing it all, so cutting through it, so slow and steady.
Proactive.
Yep.
Good. The favorite person in the whole village?
Whole
Chief,
village. Village. Police department's having a great summer.
Are you all in Florida or on the beach or the golf
Lots of
course?
activity, yeah. We had our police expo 2 weeks ago, so we had over 200 kids in 2 hours.
I heard it was well attended.
It was
I
very
heard
well
from
attended.
people outside the village what a good
People
job.
outside of the village were very, very happy with the village of Johnsburg and their police department. Like for like canceled on
Until you
us,
turn it away.
unfortunately. Like for like canceled. There was a house fire on Broadway, so they didn't want to respond because of the house fire. So, in case the fire department needed them because of the house fire, so they didn't want to respond to it. Anyway. So the police department started a safe sitter program, so it's a training program for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, who are either, could be, parents are considering leaving them home, right, for a short period of time, you know, maybe after school or before school, and it teaches them how to be responsible and what to do in case of an emergency, and it's also like a babysitting training. Anyway, we posted it yesterday, we've already filled 2 classes. So, that's fantastic. And in a couple weeks, we'll have our annual bowl with the cop. at Raymond. And Walmart gave us $1,000 this month for our Shop with a Cop. That was just kind of unexpected.
Nice.
So that was great. I don't know what else, but lots of good stuff. I don't want to take all that. I don't want to take all that.
I'd say something, but Kyle isn't here, so. It's gonna get here.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard to sail in Dutch Creek Bay in 6 inches of water, but once we get it dredged.
Once you get it dredged, yeah.
Tim, you wanna add anything?
Road program now is approved tonight, so we'll get the pre-con next week, and I'll update Kevin and Davey. But part of that program is some substantial patching on Johnsburg Road, Wilmot Road, as always, and so thank you for continuing that funding, and to keep the big roads going until someday there's money available. The sledding hill will be topsoil and seeded middle of September when IDOT blesses you can plant seed, that's mid-September, so that'll be done. You can't plant trees with seeding in the month of July, August, or until mid-September. It's out of spec, they won't pay for it, they won't allow it, you can't plant trees, you can't plant grass seed. So if they're paying 80% of the freight, then we'll play by their rules. So
That IDOT is related because of the project?
that's who's part of that.
Part of the church.
So I just wanted you to know in case anybody asked you, but our goal was to get it in 2 weeks ahead of celebration in the park, so it looked nice, and also that it was done. So if kids want to get the sledding this winter, it'll be ready. If you are out at Rescue Squad Park today, Aronson Fence put up the 8-foot screen wall around the porta potties. The aggregate pad was done by Dan Sample, paid for by the community club. Davey brought in some stone, but it's on the village's property. But the community club paid the $2,250 for that fence because the village provides the porta potties, and it's always been a partnership. So it'll just be a nice amenity there instead of looking at 2 porta potties with the doors flying open all the time. We now have a nice little corral, if you will. So as you come off the parking lot past the sign, it's just to the left, and then you make your way down to the pavilion. So other than that, just day-to-day fun stuff.
Rick?
Well, the special projects coordinator was informed by the village engineer last night that he was making a donation to Tom's Park because they're short some material up there, so that'll be happening at no cost to the village.
Thanks, gentlemen.
So, that'll be, that's all.
That's a yard or two, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, six semis.
7 sides.
Oh, okay, that's a yard or two.
It's all for you, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you, we appreciate it.
Yeah, Eddie says, better be cheap. We don't have any money, so you're doing it for nothing. So, anyway,
I
that's
didn't think
it.
it would
That's all I
work.
gotta say. That's all I got to say. That's why I hate coming to meetings.
Counselor?
Just supervising Rick and making sure he pays himself for daily wage.
Rick's gonna do himself anything. Donation.
Nothing other than that.
Claudette?
Yes.
Finish us off here.
I can finish it off quickly. Just want to give you guys a heads up that starting tomorrow, the advertisement will be going out. There's a couple of internet sources it will be going out on, as well as in the e-blast that position is open. We'll be taking applications and resumes through the 15th of August, and then conducting interviews for that too. So just want to keep you in the loop.
I did have one other thing. The Moose digital reader sign has been completed.
Right.
So check it out, which by us approving that sign, they are no longer allowed, Claudette negotiated that and Ed, they are no longer allowed to have those portable little yellow signs. They had about 8 of them with all the little inserted letters. Those are gone. That was
We gotta remind them.
That was part of the deal.
Good.
Good luck.
But it looks nice. It fits
does
in very
look
nice.
nice.
It's got the Moose Family Center, and then below it is 7 or 8 feet by 2 or 3 feet. Very much like our sign on Mount 30 feet. So maybe Phil can go ask the Moose and put his sign up and not involve us in changing our precedent.
I believe that's where he was in the past.
Right, exactly.
On that
Good
property.
suggestion. Well, you got the Moose and you got the township.
Township.
Yes.
And I'll do the Eman sign to fix everybody off, so we've got it three places. I'm just saying.
You got the Heman sign, you got the Moose, and you got the
Yeah,
township
'cause he didn't come
sign.
to me, so I'll just put it on
You're
there,
gonna have to.
you know.
And I really think that everybody here likes the idea that they contribute to Johnsburg, but on the same token, I
Like I
don't
said, you
know.
open the floodgates and it
You
causes
open the
precedent.
floodgates, and how do you control it?
Right.
Send
So why
them
don't you
send them to the Moose.
Huh?
Send them to the Moose.
Johnsburg.
The Moose will put it up for you.
That's what we just said over here, is that we said the Moose, if I
Township.
do it at Eman, and if the township does it, you're got, you know, there's,
Half times.
yeah.
The bowling alley.
Well, that's right, the bowling alley and everything, so we got plenty of signs.
Do you think our businesses will advertise?
I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. A business is different. It's their decision. For us, once we open the floodgates, I don't know how to control it. I really don't know how you would ever do it. I will be getting a call every day on how, who not to, and I don't know how to, I mean, I feel bad because Phil's been part of the community, but I really don't think it's the way to go. I think it's a problem, but, so.
Well, the other part is that most people don't realize how many people ask. I'm just saying it as a village, to be able to just say, this is the precedent, if you meet it, you don't, done, you know? Because, I mean, anyway, so.
No, you're right about that. I mean, we get birthday requests, anniversary requests, I mean, where would you stop and start?
Right.
That's what Facebook is for.
Big police sting.
Okay, anything else about that?
Nope, that's all.
Okay.
Big police.
Still fast, she has no insurance. Okay. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by trustee McAvoy, seconded by trustee Curry. On the roll, trustee McAvoy, trustee Curry, trustee Hagen, and trustee Plum. Motion carried.